Well, this is about crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And we had a full season of logging. And then I basically broke off and did a couple of project saws, of which this one here is one, the 572. I can tell you right now, this saw is ready for work. I really don't have to do anything to it. And I've got a few little bits of trivia I'm going to throw in here, but I kind of cleaned out the back of my pickup truck. Is where this all started, and I started seeing all this stuff. Couldn't figure out where all my bars went. Well, they're in the back of my pickup truck. That's where they were. You know what I was doing is I was going through the different saws. Basically, I started trying different bar and chain combos and things like that to get what I needed. And they all ended up pretty much in the back of my truck in different stages of dirtiness and disrepair. So I pulled it all out and kind of went through the whole process. You kind of do a reset. I have to do a little bit of cleanup around the farm before I get back into taking down trees. Of course, it's wintertime now anyway, right? And although the weather seems like it opened up a little bit, gave me a chance to get back out in there. And started cleaning off the workbench and, you know, getting into some of the projects and seeing the stuff that I collected. And yeah, I will eventually unpack it all. We're working on it little by little. But a couple things I want to do. Chain I used in this last job I did the other day, where basically what I had done was pretty badly rocked. This one actually was wired, this one, because there was a lot of barbed wire in that old tree is what it was. It was somebody's fence post at some point in time. And the more I run this 572, it's building power. It's breaking in building power. And I've got one complaint with it, and it's my own doing, is my outlet needs to be rotated more this way, is what it needs to be done, because my bucking spike is right there, so I really can't rock that saw into the work as much as I want. And that's one of my cardinal sins of modifying a saw, is when you create a modification that requires you to work around it. It's a bad mod. So we're going to run it for a little bit with a long bar. I might get some West Coast style bucking spikes and a full wrap handle on it too. And if I do that, those bucking spikes are out here more, so the muffler won't be as much of an issue. But that's not, I don't know why, well, I guess I do know why I ended up doing that, because I really was a little afraid of the clearances. And I ended up with I think a sub-par muffler mod. Now another thing I'm going to do is go through this toolbox, basically dump everything out of it, and try to build it up from scratch to have the tools that I need to maintain my saws out in the field. Right now I obviously don't. Yeah, this will do it. I'll put this one right in there. And again, one of the things I like about the whole 572 series, you know, internally, of course, the bigger bearings and all that stuff that we've talked about over time. Externally, I like the fact that these covers capture the bar nuts. I think that's pretty cool. I like the external sprocket, internal clutch. I understand all the physics of all the reasons why sometimes the other way around is desired by some people. It's just not by me. I think somebody was noodling. What do you think? See, on this saw here, I just simply don't have the time. I want to make it, if it's going to be my primary work saw, I'll just throw a chain on it. I'll take these other chains and set them on other saws, and, you know, I'll grind on them and stuff like that. But the two primary work saws I have, there's actually three I have in the truck, and I just simply don't want any issues with them. This one here is going to be one. That G395 is the second one. That saw is really earned my respect. You know, I know it's Chinese and aftermarket and all that, but that saw really did a lot of work this year, and it did it well. And of course my 562 HTSS, which has been a backup now for several seasons, a couple of years. Good saw. That was a good build. You know, I've done a bunch of those. I've done a bunch of those 562s over the years, and they've earned their keep wherever they went, and earned kudos and praise because people like them. You know, I find it interesting. I actually have an 8-pin sprocket on this darn thing, and it still hogs pretty good. I need to bring that to a 7. I wonder if I have a 7-pin sprocket around here somewhere. It really needs a 7. That's too much gear. Boy, look at all the dirt in there. I'm going to shut the camera off and go blow this thing out. This thing is just packed. So one of the things I had bought a while back was this kit. And I see. And this one just goes right here, so that'll help. Alright, I think I've got enough to do this. I think I've got enough. So let's start with taking off the handlebar and stuff. This is a steel T27 scrinch that actually I think works really good because it's like a T-handle, you know. This is really not the best configuration for what I do, but I don't care. It looks cool, right? The problem I have is when I make this change is basically I'm going to change this saw into something that's not as useful for me. And I know a lot of guys are going to go, wow, what are you talking about? But I've gone through this over and over. The big handle looks cool and stuff, but it just gets in the way. But for the video channel, it'll be cool. How's that? I'll leave it at that too. The one thing this does do is takes away the issue I have with the muffler. Right? Now with that bucket spike stuck all out in there, the muffler has room. Got the same part number. 5570919. I guess I don't need to change it. That's a good thing. But I do need one of these for my other build. Look at that, just like that, the muffler problem solved. Tell you what, these kits are like 50 bucks. You get a cover and you get that anti-vibe. And you get some of these screws. Friends. That, my friend, is a steal. That is a steal. I love those inserts they have on these handles. You know, as compared to the plastic on the 72s. That is such a better design. It looks like they've worked the bar to where I can get a socket on the bar nuts. We'll see when we put it together. That's one of the issues I have with these full wraps is you just simply don't have the access. Alright. Is there an insert? Son of a gun. Well, this thing's dumping out water. It's got water in the handle. That's interesting. Probably from sitting in the truck. So this has got an insert on this screw too. What a solid design these things are. I like the 572 more and more. They obviously put a lot of effort into durability in details like these inserts for servicing. Let me see if I've got that clutch. I'm gonna have to pull that clutch off of there. It's so packed with stuff, I'm turning the motor with it. Yeah, I've got a 7 I can put on there. Let me do that. Let me pull the clutch off, blow that all out. Yeah, that was just too much. That saw. Oh my God, look at all the crap in here. I think that saw got a little bit of use. So let me blow this out. Man, that was packed. Packed. All the water that dropped out of the handle too from sitting in the back of the truck this last storm. You know, I ran it today and it didn't show me any signs of issues. Get the stuff put away. We get that bearing greased up. I use this red grease I use on my tractors when I put these bearings back on. I don't know, do you need to do it? I don't know. I just do it. It's got the same kind of a setup that a 372 has. You capture the worm gear. That slot there in the clutch drum, you sort of set that down. When you hear it, you know you got it right when it's doing like that. So, you get a 7-pin. That'll give a little more snap, right? Drop the gear ratio a little bit. Although I wasn't really suffering on that long bar, but there it goes. Got a bunch of extra screws. All good, right? This comes in the kit. Like I said, that kit is a steal. I might just buy another one for the parts. This old clutch cover is an old style clutch cover that doesn't have the captured nuts. So that's one thing. So I'm not sure. And about the only thing different that I'm seeing is it's old style. And this one here doesn't have that hole. The reason why it doesn't have that little hole to hold the bucket spike is there's no material to have a hole. So that's why this one gets pushed to the side. This guy right here has a hole that you can put a screw in there and hold this in place. So that's also why we got 2 bar nuts. This was brand new, by the way, when I put it on. Well, I don't want that. That's a freaking skip chain. What a piece of crap that is. That's not going to help me at all. There is no reason to have a skip chain on a chainsaw. I'm afraid I'm going to go back to the original chain and just sharpen it. Let's go back to what it had. So really, all this is here This is just an old style 372 side cover that has a different color on it. It's cheap. So yet again, if you buy one of these full wrap kits, you're getting all this other stuff, which is useful if you're a saw hobby guy like me. And I just got a bunch of parts because of this kit that I believe are going to help me move my other 372 project further along, because I was missing that anti-vibe. You know what I'm saying? See if there's enough gas in this thing to fire it up and see what it does. But this solves my muffler problem. There we go. But I'm not going to put a skip chain on a saw like that. That's ridiculous. So interestingly enough, kind of like Harbor Freight coming to the rescue, Holzfforma came to the rescue for me with this file kit I didn't know I had. And that bird just did a crappy job, so I had to go back and do it pretty much by eye. And I guess we'll see tomorrow how it works. But I had to go back and even up the rakers. Got to leave that cloth there when it's in the truck so stuff doesn't get in that muffler. Yet again, not the best muffler model I've ever had. So that's the 572. This thing is ready for work. It's a good saw. Then I got that goofy full wrap handle on it. I've got to carry some more tools in here. I think this is going right in there. You know that? Alright, what's next? Let me put this down. One of the things I struggled with today, this saw here, the chain is totally warped. That was terrible. Got broken teeth and everything. Oh my god. But anyway, that keeps coming off, and this keeps disappearing down inside. You know, I've got another cover here, and maybe I have to go OEM on this one too. Other than that, this saw runs pretty good. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised with how this saw runs. But boy, look how dirty it got. I'm also kind of curious to see if that ignition system is rubbing on the pins. So, more and more and more of this saw is going OEM as time goes on. I think that's kind of funny. A little apropos, but I want to keep the G372 cover if I can, just so everybody knows it's, well, somewhat Chinese. Less and less every day, I guess. Runs good. The other thing I have to do is I have to sort out the idle a little bit. It's not quite right. I mean, it runs good and all that, but it could run better. Get an OEM clip on there. Because I'd like to keep this cover. Keep this cover useful. I want to do that. I want to have that goofy sticker on there, so it's loud and proud about what it is. I kind of think it's funny. I was rummaging through the junk pile and I found this bucking spike. Came off a 372 OEM. Guess what? It has the same part number as the one off the 572. I went and bought a bunch. They're coming on eBay, and I didn't need to. All I had to do was go to the junk pile. Here's an OEM clip that came out of the junk pile. Let's see if I can put that in. Do a little more solid connection. Oh, is it rubbing? Oh, yes, it is. Alright, so I'm going to have... I need to cut that. How am I going to do that? You know, that very well may be what's going on with this saw. It's if that's pushed up against the fins like that, it'll arc into the fins for sure. Let's see if I can pull it up and out first before I get crazy. Alright, so how much do I want to cut off of this thing? I want it to kind of go like that. I guess I'm going to cut off about that much. Alright, see if that works. Yeah, see, that keeps it off the cylinder. So by shortening up that wire, it's getting that off the cylinder. I suspect it's going to run a little bit better. Interesting. Good chain. Man, look at that. The teeth have broke right off. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. But, yeah, I definitely cut some wire with this thing. Another one like this. Just broke it. Broke it square. Just broke it right off. And there's really nothing I can do with that chain. It's whooped. A 24 in 058. And I've got some 058 gauge chain. So that's what this is going to get, I guess. This saw doesn't deserve good chain. So this may be a temporary assignment. But if that cover stays on, big if, I'm going to run this a lot, so I guess I might as well start with a fresh chain and then I can start filing from there. That other one, you know what I need to do is I have a bunch of chains like that. I need to get a chain breaker and then just start taking those chains and cutting them and building them into something useful, I think. Because I have a ton of chain. I mean, I've got a lot of chain that can be turned into something useful, I think. I'm getting that feeling on this saw. There's something I'm missing on this saw. That's the big question right now. I need to put a decomp on this saw. I think it idles, so I think we got a net gain on this, and it may be that what I was dealing with is that ignition wire. That's very possible. I want you to notice one thing about this saw. When I fire it back up again, I'm going to let it sit for a second, then fire it back up and see if there's any difference. I can set that on this table. Nothing's going off the table. So that OEM crank and that OEM piston, because now it has a Husqvarna OEM crank and piston, obviously are fairly well balanced. Get that sticker off of there. Alright, let's see if it restarts. I think it's running pretty good. I gotta check one more thing. Oh, I guess I don't have to. That chain's quite wet. It's oiled. So, I think that's better. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna put it in the wood tomorrow. Work on it a little bit more. But, so that's the two saws. 550 is fine. I just gotta run it. But this one here, like I said, when I'd rev this one out, that top cover would just pop right off. It's not doing that now. I was able to retain the Chinese cover. That's a win for me. So I guess what we have on this saw right here is, that's an OEM handle, OEM tank handle, you know, with all the trigger and OEM throttle cable and stuff like that. It's got an OEM piston, OEM crankshaft, and this is OEM here. That's a broken OEM cover, but it's OEM still just the same. And but the carburetor, the cases, the bearings, seals, stuff like that, and the chain brake parts, they're off the G372XT. And the muffler was as well. I just modified it. And buck and spikes are OEM. So this is truly a blend between OEM and the clone saw. And I think it's working better. I think this was an improvement. Throttle response is excellent on that saw too, by the way. That's part of what happens when you do the modification I did, is once it begins to break in, and it's going to take a little time. So what will happen is I run this saw and it begins to break in, the compression increases, things like that throttle response get better. And I think this is ready for work. I'm going to set them back in the truck, and I guess I'll put together a short video, I suppose.